Hi, I'm Tintin Wisniewski from the Hoover Institution. Hoover's Career Task Force on K-12 education, with the help of some friends, has attempted to project what American education might look like in the year 2030. By that time, today's newborn will become college freshmen. The task of looking so far ahead while refreshing is also quite formidable. We invite you to join us in this predictive video presentation in search for solutions to the challenges that American education faces in the years ahead. For more information about this project, please visit our website at americaneducation2030.com. Carolyn Hoxby is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution and the Scott and Danya Baumer Professor of Economics at Stanford University, where she specializes in economics of education, school choice, and school reform. She outlines fundamental changes in how America pays for public education and how that affects academic performance.
Today, in 2030, I'm glad to report that primary and secondary schools are financed in a way that is transparent, that promotes efficiency, and that is completely portable. Every parent knows the budget for his child and is able to take that budget to any school, including charter schools. The system is reasonably equitable because its main component is a per-child budget that is equal for all children and that is financed by payroll and sales taxes. This per-child budget is called the capitation payment. However, today's system also allows families to top up the capitation payment, and this possibility of topping up gives families and schools good incentives to make education work. Schools have the option of requiring a top-up payment, but the schools that do so offer scholarships to needy students to cover that extra payment. Today, how do we set the capitation payment? Well, we set it so that most students earn a rate of return on their education investment that is about what they could earn on alternative investments, such as a small business or assets. Because the capitation payment is set that way, it is sufficient for the education of most children. Of course, the capitation payment is common knowledge and is completely portable among schools. Parents can easily choose traditional public schools, any one, including those in other districts, charter schools, and even private schools that are willing to participate in statewide testing and other key aspects of accountability. Capitation payment makes it easy for students to take courses at virtual schools, magnet schools, and even local community colleges. School-level budgets are now meaningful. A principal knows exactly how much money he or she has to spend and what would happen to the budget if students departed for another school. Because the capitation payment is set at about the right amount, most schools just require it and don't ask for any topping up. This makes schools easy to compare. Parents who realize that their school is not giving value for money can force it to learn from other schools that are more effective. Of course, we do not have a completely centralized, uniform system. Why not? Well, first of all, parents have never been willing to give up the freedom to choose different education investments for their children than the state might choose for them. Second, allowing topping up puts pressure on schools to be efficient and serves as a sort of early warning system. Since the top-up payments come from parents' own pockets, they naturally scrutinize schools that require topping up. If the schools do not in fact provide the extra services that justify the topping up fee, parents are not willing to pay it. Policymakers find that they learn from topping up. If they set the capitation payment too low, they find that most families engage in topping up, and they know they have to set it higher. On the other hand, if they set the capitation payment too high, no families will engage in topping up, and they know they've set it too high. To keep their student bodies diverse, savvy schools that require topping up do offer scholarships for the top-up amount to low-income students. Also, foundations and other private donors have programs that offer topping up scholarships for low-income students. Families that want to save for their child's top-up payments can do so in a tax-advantaged education savings account. But no one need worry that families, regardless of income, cannot access good schools. The capitation payment is set so that every school has enough money to deliver effective education. What's more important is that bad schools are driven out of the market because the capitation payments are so portable. Property taxes are no longer used to finance schools. Back in the old days, they filled an important role. They pressured local school districts to be efficient, indirectly. If a local district was ineffective, families moved out of it and property prices fell. This put pressure on the schools to improve. Thus, property taxes had their advantages. But once we had a system of completely portable capitation fees, schools were under so much pressure to be efficient that property taxes no longer served any useful function. Is our current system of school finance, our 2030 system, a perfect system? Well, no system can be perfect if what it means to be perfect is having every school be fully efficient, having absolute equity in school spending, and yet allowing people to make different investments in their different children. However, today's system does have many advantages. It achieves a reasonable degree of equity because the capitation payment allows every child to get an education that will pay a solid rate of return. It pressures schools to spend money efficiently so that no family needs send their child to a school that is costly, yet unsafe, chaotic, or just plain ineffectual. It recognizes the importance of families. They cannot be cut out of the loop and still be expected to promote their child's education. Families now make school choices easily and have a say in how much gets spent on their child's education. The system is so transparent that policymakers are able to enact smarter, more coherent school policies. A person who lived 20 years ago, in 2010, would probably be surprised and yet also unsurprised that today we have this effective system of school finance. He would not be surprised to learn that school finance had changed because no one was happy with the way school finance existed in 2010. At the time, parents and policymakers clamored for systems that were more transparent, that generated better value for money, and that allowed freer choices among schools. People also wanted to see systems that felt equitable and yet did not bankrupt the state. Administrators wanted to have systems that allowed discretion at the school level. What the person of 2010 could not foresee is that the widespread unhappiness with school finance at the time caused courts and legislatures to tinker continually with their systems of school finance. Finally, one U.S. state introduced a prototype of today's system, more by chance than anything else, and it was so successful that other states soon imitated the successful system. Further tinkering produced further refinements, and we ended up where we are today.